people of Reddit who knew celebrities before they were famous, how different do they act now? My grandpa, RIP, owned a grocery store in Miami in the late 70s. Wesley Snipes and his friends once stole some candy from his store, and when he caught them he let them have it. Since then Wesley and his friends were regulars. Once, Wesley left his bike in front of the store and it got stolen. Was a pretty bad area. My grandpa gave him his old bike that he kept in the back of the store. My uncle took over in 2001 when my grandpa died. In 2007 he came back to the store while my uncle and cousin were there, to ask about my grandpa. My uncle said they talked for a little over an hour about how my grandpa treated him like a son. When he found out my grandpa passed, he felt guilty he didn't visit sooner. He embraced my uncle and cousin and left. My uncle said he told him they plan on having the building repainted while they talked. About a week later a crew of painters arrived and told my uncle they were already paid to have the building repainted. Such a genuine dude. This is real late and second-hand, but I knew someone who went to ACM with Ed Sheeran. He said he was lazy in class, skipped classes, and just wanted to smoke weed. And my acquaintance was mad when Ed started getting more and more famous, when Ed didn't even bother with his music courses. I thought that was funny. Work in a restaurant about 15 years ago as a manager. Rachel McAdams walked in for an interview. She was still in acting school and serving table to pay for it. She worked at my restaurant over the course of the next 2 summers, serving on our patio. Still friends to this day. She hasn't changed a bit. Still bikes to get groceries. My grandfather taught Jack Nicholson in high school math class. Said he was rebellious but wasn't too bad at math. Maths teachers care more about the numbers than the rebellion. I live in the town where Dolly Parton grew up, and practically everyone above the age of 50 who grew up here claims to either be a distant relative of Dolly's, or they claim to know her in some way. Everyone has their story of the time they met Dolly. It's pretty obvious, but regardless of who you talk to, Dolly has always been sweet and generous, but everything has simply grown exponentially due to her fame. Examples are the millions of books she gives out for free to children around the globe each month, or how she gave out $10,000 cash to many of my close friends after their houses burned in a fire a couple years back. Thousands of people are employed here and work for one of the businesses she owns, and it's a tad strange to see when you walk in, but the birthing center at the local hospital is funded by and named after her. I honestly can't think of one person I know who doesn't like her. Dolly's heart has only gotten bigger because of fame. My mom used to ride the bus to work in downtown Cleveland with Steve Harvey's first wife. Apparently she supported him while he was trying to get his career started. And then basically as soon as he got successful he divorced her for a younger woman. My mom always hated him because she felt that he treated his first wife like crap and always yells "bastard" at the TV when he pops up. Edit, thanks for the gold. I told my mom that the internet likes her and hates Steve Harvey, so you've made her day. My dad was good friends with Johnny Depp back in the day. It was around when he was first filming 21 Jump Street, the show, not the movie LOL. My dad says he was really humble and kind and always paid their bar tab. Apparently he was quite generous in giving out lots of free quality cocaine at parties too. My aunt was best friends with Madonna in high school, stayed friends until she got famous, and she turned into a completely different person in the worst way possible. So you're say your aunt knew her pre-Madonna and pre-prima donna Madonna? My dad was good friends with Will Smith before the Fresh Prince days. Will actually showed him the pilot before it aired. Fast forward however many years to After Earth, and Will invited us on the set. His first words when he saw my dad 10 plus years later was, "The Philly crew is back. Both Will and Jaden are the sweetest people you'll ever meet." Edit, thanks for all the love, this is the most upvotes I've ever gotten. Hashtag internet fame. Edit 2. My dad also did all of the work on Will Smith's and Jazzy Jeff's cars back in the day. Had a little too much fun in Will's Jeep and flipped it on its roof. Thanks for coming to my TED Talk. My client had dinner with Will Smith at a restaurant in Charleston, SC, and said he was a riot. Said they were laughing loudly throughout dinner. An older woman and her guest walked over when she was leaving and said she did not know whether to be pissed off or grab a chair and join them. Then Will turned around and she about died. After dinner Will went out and talked a rickshaw guy into letting him on the bike, and he took tourists for a ride, LOL. He seems like an awesome person. Not personally, but everyone in my town has a Dave Chappelle story. I worked with a guy who said he knew him. I called BS. We then met Dave and they were actually friends. Basically no one in town thought he would be much. Now he is a local hero, really down to earth. You literally see this man just chilling in the park in normal cheap clothes. Nothing has changed him. You wouldn't think he was famous. Maybe homeless but not famous. Edit, I should have said wrinkled clothes like he fell asleep then just woke up and left. I didn't see any logos and brands. People seem upset I said cheap clothes. I have no clue as to what he was wearing. Still super nice guy. You wouldn't think he was famous. I knew Robert Pattinson about 15 years ago. Nice guy, friendly, a lot of fun to be with. He lived by himself in the center of Soho, London, in a tiny one-bed flat that I think he felt like the romantic vision of a starving artist, or at least wanted to. He had a weird side. He'd say random, violent, depraved things. He was obsessed with Jack Nicholson. He never really gave a fuck, he had confidence and he was always himself, and he knew he could be deliberately contradictory and he used that as a personality trope. But he was a good guy, and I get the impression he's very comfortable with himself now that he has developed his career, that he acts very well, and that he can pick and choose his roles based upon what he wants to do and who he wants to work with. Twilight for him was always a means to an end, and I think he worked it very much to his benefit, and didn't compromise himself. I grew up with Billie Eilish and Phineas. We were both homeschooled, attended a lot of the same classes, and our moms were, and still are, very good friends. I've known Billie since I was 2 and she was 4. I'd say I saw her at least 3 times a week with the various classes we did together from when I was between the ages of 2 and 10, and her brother Phineas was often there as well. Anyway, I was a very shy kid, didn't talk to people much except family and good friends. Billie and Phineas always made fun of me for being quiet. I wouldn't go so far as to say it was bullying or anything close to that, but it did get annoying and I remember mildly disliking them because of that. I always looked up to Billy in kind of a little sister way, though. I moved to a different state when I was 10 and she was 12, 1 year before she released her first hit Ocean Eyes. Hearing her on the radio for the first time was so cool, and she rose to fame pretty quickly after that. I met her for the first time since she became famous last year, in June 2019 at one of her concerts. She and her mom invited my mom and I to come, and we hung out backstage before the show. She has changed definitely for the better. She was so nice, we have a lot of the same interests now, and I honestly feel we could be good friends if she weren't so famous now. She's a very genuine person now, she gets a lot of hate that I really don't think she deserves in the slightest.